All men need to see this. Older women finally admitting men were right all along.
I was arguing with a man the other day because he was trying to tell me that men have it worse in dating. I was like, okay, literally, have you met men? They're so superficial. There's so much fat phobia. Like, I just feel like women give men more chances in dating than men are giving women. Then this guy was like, no, but think about it. He's like, if a girl is attractive, she could literally be like unemployed, like make minimum wage. It doesn't matter. Like high earner type man is gonna date her. But he's like, as a boy, as a man, I have to both be attractive and I have to make money. At the time I was just like, oh, like everything you are saying is so wrong. But then I got to thinking about it and I'm like, he low-key has a point. And I feel like this is what we mean when we talk about like intersectionality, because there is like a fat phobia and like superficialness maybe in like male world, like they want these like women who like look a certain way, whatever. But then also there is this like provider and like high income thing in like girl world. So I don't know, who do you guys think has it worse?
Honestly, in my experience, the fat phobia isn't that bad. And it is harder for men to find women and get dates on dating apps. But the reason for that is that not very many men have the emotional intelligence and maturity to be an actual good partner who adds value to a woman's life and vice versa.
I do think men are right when it comes to the fact that like, oh, you're gonna end up sad and alone. Because, sometimes like right now I am sad. Like I couldn't decide what to eat. So I ordered from all three of my favorite places, and I don't have any little kids who are going to be like, can I have some? Can I have some? And so I'm going to eat it all. And then I don't have a man to tell me what he wants to watch is what the best thing is to watch. So I get to watch my favorite TV show, and I'm just sitting in my own clean, beautiful apartment, so sad and alone. And, I'm so sad about it. This is the worst night of my life.
This woman is finally admitting that men were right. She's ending up sad and alone with no little kids asking, can I have something to eat? No family, no legacy, just emptiness. This is the reality men tried to warn women about for years, but we were called misogynists, told we were trying to control women, accused of wanting to trap them in oppressive traditional roles. Now she's living the consequence of the choices she made, and suddenly the truth is undeniable. Men weren't lying when we said prioritizing career over family would leave you lonely. We weren't being cruel when we explained that fertility has an expiration date. We weren't being controlling when we suggested that delaying motherhood in marriage to focus on yourself and explore your options comes with permanent costs. We were telling the truth. But the truth was inconvenient, so it was dismissed. Feminism sold women a lie, that they could have it all, that children and family could wait indefinitely, that career fulfillment would replace the biological and emotional need for connection and legacy. Now women in their 40s and 50s are waking up to the reality that success, money, and independence don't keep you warm at night. They don't care for you when you're sick. They don't give your life deeper meaning. This woman's admission should be a warning to younger women still being fed the same lies. You cannot delay biology indefinitely. You cannot prioritize everything else and expect family to magically appear when you're finally ready. The men who would have built with you moved on. The window for children closed. And now you're left with exactly what men said you'd be left with. Alone. At least she's honest enough to admit it now. The question is whether other women will listen before it's too late for them too.
These women are all dating the same men. So I got to give points to the gentlemen. They've been saying for a while that 80% of women only date about 20% of men. And I've been thinking about this for a long time. I was like, wait a minute. Okay, so I'm looking at the percentage of single mothers versus the percentage of single fathers. The data is not quite lining up. Then I started to think about the T app. And I said, wait a minute. Women are posting all the same guy on the T app. And they're all running over there and rating their experience with the same guy. Wait a minute. These women are all dating the same men. Because how would you explain that one guy has like 30 different women rating him poorly? 30 different women have dated this guy and they have a bad report on him. I think the guys were right about this one.
That data has been out for a long time. Around 70% of women are in relationships, and only around 49% of men are in a relationship. And it's actually more now. This is why most women can't get married now. The men who sleep with all of them enjoy the best of them, and the guys who would have married them know this information now. This is why if he can't get the eager little freak out of her from her past, he won't stay.
Men and women, not equal. And that's the hottest thing that I have ever realized, because we are not the same. We're not built the same. We are not wired the same. And thank God for that. Women bring magic men will never have. Intuition that feels danger before it walks in the door. Nurturing that turns a house into a home. And a softness that calms the wildest storms. Men bring power women should never have to carry. Direction when everything feels lost. Protection that makes you sleep like a baby. Raw strength that moves mountains so you don't have to. That's not inequality. That is perfect design. When we try to be identical, the spark dies, desire dies, respect fades, and polarity, out the door. You end up with two roommates arguing over dishes instead of a man and a woman on fire for each other. Equal in value? Absolutely. Equal in roles? Hell no. I don't want to compete with my husband. I want to complete him. I want him to lead where he's built to lead, and me to reign where only I can. Real empowerment isn't pretending that I'm him or vice versa. It's owning every inch of what makes me a woman. So no, we are not equal. We are different. We are opposite. We are magnetic. And that's exactly why every single night he looks at me like I'm the calm to his chaos. And I look at him like he's the storm I never want to live without. Different isn't less. Different is electric. Do you agree with me or disagree with me? Let me know in the comments. I am very curious about this one.
At least there's one woman in this world that understands. Men want respect and peace. Well said in this way, each gender has equally important but different roles to play. Women have skills in some areas that men typically just don't have, and vice versa.
I'm going to start a series called Dumb Shit I Put Up With When I Was Dating. When I was on the apps at like age 52, 53. I put up with so much shit. Looking back, I'm just like, girl, were you okay? I thought there's going to be all these great guys, and I was like, I'm going to go off the market quickly. Nope. This one guy who lived in Manhattan, I really, really, really liked this guy. This is a guy that I made my boyfriend. One of the biggest mistakes of my life, because this guy was a monster, which is why it's okay for me to talk about him, because fuck him. He was a love bomber, so that's an entirely other topic. But just like a few weird things in retrospect where I'm like, why was I okay with this? He was so proud of his apartment. He was so proud of his, he would have thought this was like the palace. So his apartment, I go, he's giving me the tour. And in his bedroom, he's got a big, this is what they all have. They all have the big ass desk. That's what they kept from their marriages. So this guy had been divorced. He was like in his late 50s. The big giant desk that took up half the room, and then his big bed that took up the rest of the room. Do you know that on both bedside, stands, what are they called? There were candles on both, but they were not for me. There was like one white candle and another one. We're not brand new, like let's take the wrapping off and light them together. No, these were pre-owned candles. He had used them for someone else and left them on his freaking nightstands. I still stayed. Oh, I'm so embarrassing. At least put them in the drawer. So yeah, I don't know how old they were. I should have touched them to see if they were still warm. This is my first time visiting him in the city. I live right outside of the city. But this was going to be like, again, our sexy overnight fantasy suite. It was rude to me when I got there. Got, to his doorman, his concierge, and I said, oh, I'm here for fuckface. Calls upstairs and he's like, there's a young lady here to see you. And then I get to the door and he's laughing. He's laughing because he's like, a young lady? It was so funny that the doorman called me a young lady. And I was like, okay, not really funny, but I'm new to this shit and I'm dumb and you're the last man on earth and you're tall. Then I drop my stuff off and then we go to get lunch. So we take the elevator down. And as we're walking out, this is a big building with a lot of people around. He yells to the concierge across the people and says, is this the young lady? And starts laughing again. I should have been like, I'm going back upstairs. I should have just left my stuff. And we're going to mock him because he was a jerk. So he had told me before that he's got like a dairy thing. Now, again, this is only like our 5th date. We're only like 2 weeks in. Like, I don't need to know about your digestive stuff yet. I have all sorts of digestive issues, major bad stuff. I have to take Miralax every day. Did I tell my boyfriend that on the first? No, I hid that. I buried that. He didn't need to know that. He didn't find out until like 12 months in. I've got a digestive thing, but I'm big on protein. So I have yogurt every morning and then I like have to run to the bathroom. And I'm like, well, that's probably not a good idea. Why don't you have something else? No, I love my yogurt and this and that. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I forgot that he had told me this. So we do the sexy overnight. We don't know where the candles went. So the next morning he has his, his feast, his yogurt or whatever the hell he was having. And he hands me the remote control and he's like, here, you can watch TV because I'm going to go into the bathroom. And he was in the bathroom for 30 minutes. It's a New York apartment. It's not a big house. He's not like, well, I'm going upstairs for a minute. No. It's like, here's the sofa and there's the bathroom and here's me trying to turn the TV up so I don't hear anything. That's weird, right? That's weird. I'm not judging him for his digestive stuff. Like I said, digestive stuff, but and I still dated him and my boyfriend shortly thereafter. I am so embarrassing. I don't even know the moral to this story. They're the lessons. If he's like sarcastic and digs at you, that's a terrible sign. Like that was a love bomber. That is what they do. They love bomb you and then they like chip away at you. They devalue you. It's a part of like their psychological warfare. If you go in there and you see candles that were from another woman, it's probably a chance that this guy is not like really serious. 3, the digestive stuff. I don't know. There is no lesson there. We're just here to mock him because he sucked.
This is a perfect example of what men have to deal with.
Let me ask you something. Do men ever not pursue a woman because they are intimidated by her? Do men ever not pursue a woman because they're just too scared of how much they're going to fall in love with her? We have been fed this tale that if a man is not pursuing you and a man is not making plans with you, that's probably because he's intimidated by you. He's intimidated by your success. He's intimidated by your beauty. He's intimidated by how fancy of a lifestyle you have. And I'm just curious, is any of that true? Is any of that?
It's not that he's intimidated. It's that he knows that by getting into a relationship with that kind of woman, he's going to be signing up for a full-time job trying to maintain and upkeep a relationship without her even reciprocating. It's quite literally the ability of a man to look at a situation logically, to then determine if it's even worthwhile trying to pursue a woman that potentially could just tear his life apart and he will never have peace. What a man is actually intimidated by is being sent to HR because he's about to get fired. He's intimidated by the police being called on him for being falsely accused over something that he's never done. And he's intimidated by running into a bear in the woods.
Not intimidated. More likely not interested. We just see if they are going to be compatible and whether they would add joy to our lives. If we don't see that happening, we move on. Well, most do. We're sick of the unrealistic expectations.
Story time of how I got catfished into going out with an NFL player. I know that sounds absolutely insane, but if you listen to it, you'll understand what I mean. So I matched with this guy on Hinge and I had seen his profile a couple of different times. Like sometimes you'll see the same profile like once a week and you're like, I've already X'd that out. And you wonder if the app knows something that you don't. Is there like some high compatibility that the app knows about that I'm missing out on? And so a couple days later, he liked my profile. And when I saw like the thumbnail, I knew exactly who it was, because I had looked at his profile and thought like his photos were really funny. Like they tickled me. And a lot of people just aren't funny on their profiles at all. So I really thought that he had to have been funny in real life if he was able to communicate that just through the pictures that he put up. But there was also something about the background of the photos that he had online that was very specific to me. And I have to be sort of vague because I'm not trying to identify anybody in these stories. They're just like for fun. But it wouldn't stand out to everyone. It wouldn't stand out to a lot of people. But to me personally, I have an interest that led me to believe that he had the same interest from the background of his photos. And I thought, okay, regardless, we're going to have a lot to talk about. I had $10 says we have a bunch of stuff in common. So we match, we start talking, and we're just talking on the app, like on the app messaging portion, which is weird. I don't normally stay there, but he has no interest in moving off. I always let the guy ask, and he just never did. We've got things in common. Like I'm asking him, I ask people what time they get up in the morning. I never ask people what they do. And he's got the right answers. It's like 4:30 or 5. It's the same as me. We're both up. We're both working out. We're both super into fitness. You know, I ask him about another hobby or whatever, what he does in his free time. He's like, I'm so into bread baking lately. Like I've gotten so into baking sourdough. And I'm like, that's crazy, because that has always been my hobby for 30 years. Like my family's wanted me to open a bakery. I've baked for restaurants growing up. Like I am a really good baker. And so, you know, we're exchanging recipes and talking about it. And so he says to me, let's go out. Let's go out. And I said, okay, let's do this. He's like, let's go out on Thursday. And he's like, I gotta go to work. And I don't really, again, we haven't moved off the app. I don't hear from him for a while, but I don't have like a ton invested in this, you know. I'm just sort of like, oh, it's an interesting, you know, like I'll have a lot of things in common with him. It'll be interesting to go out for a drink. He sends me a message through Hinge and says, give me your phone number. I am going to FaceTime you at 3 and we will go out at 7 tonight. And I'm like, cool. You know, like a man that takes charge. Cool. So 3 o'clock rolls around. Oh, and then I go and I look at his profile later in the day and it's gone. And I'm like, oh, he unmatched for me. I guess we're not going anywhere. And if you online date, that shit happens all the time. And you're like, whatever. So I'm like, oh, I guess we're not going. But at 3 o'clock, my phone starts ringing. And so I answer it and it's him FaceTiming me. And he looks exactly like his photos. I look exactly like mine. He's like, I'm so relieved. Like, you're totally normal. You're funny. You're cute. I've snuck out of work. I'm just taking this call, but we're on for tonight. Here's my address. You know, park at my house. I'll wait for you and we'll walk to go get a drink because the area is super busy, has terrible parking. But I know the area well, and so I'm completely comfortable. I'm like, yeah, okay, that's great. So I show up at the time he's waiting out in his driveway, and I have a sourdough starter that I made for him. So I have a 200-year-old New England sourdough starter, and he's got one that he uses that's from the other side of the country. So mine's very different. He sees it and is like just, you know, I think he's a little mind blown that I put any thought into it. It doesn't cost anything, you know, I just have it, you feed it, you split it and bring it. And so I think for him, he was already like super excited. Like, oh my God, she's nice. You know, she looks like she's supposed to look, and she's really nice. And my first impression of him is like, Jesus Christ, he is enormous. Like, this man is a full straight Viking, okay? There's no other word to describe him. I think people who are 6'4" are tall. He is pushing 7 foot. Dude, I am 5'4" on my best day. So I'm like, we are so mismatched. It feels weird talking to him. I'm like, so we go out, we have a drink. And while we're talking, I say to him, hey, I like your tattoo. It's really interesting that you have that. But I'm not thinking it's that weird because, and again, I'm not going to tell you what the tattoo is of because it's too identifying. Again, I don't think it's that weird that he has the tattoo because I think it ties into what he does for a living, just from a couple of things that he's mentioned. And he says to me something about the tattoo, like, I don't understand what it is. Like, somehow I've misunderstood what it is. And I said, no, I know exactly what that is. It's this. I wrote my college thesis on that exactly. And his mind is just like, and I said, And he's, you know, asking me a million questions. He's trying to make sure, like, how do you know this? Like, this isn't in your wheelhouse. And I'm like, but it is in your wheelhouse, you know? And he's just looking at me. And he's like, well, that's not what I do for a living. And I said, well, what do you do for a living? Like, I'm confused completely at this point. And he's like, I play football. And I don't know. And like when he said it, I was like, oh, like arena football? He's like, no, like NFL football. And I was like, huh? And all the wheels are turning. Like, oh my God, this is why he didn't move off the app. This is why I didn't give you his phone number. It's why is when he gave you his phone number, then he completely deleted the match with you so you couldn't screenshot it. And I'm like, does he think that I have any idea who the hell he is? But I don't know, because I don't know who he is. So I don't know how well he's known. Anyway, so we talk about that just like, you know, a little bit in passing. He mentions that he's going out of town. He's got a whole team going with him. And I'm confused as to what the hell he's doing out of town. He mentioned something about me going out of town with him. He wants to take me sightseeing. And I'm like, okay, you know, sure. You know, now I feel like maybe he's just blowing some smoke up my ass, because I do not know who the hell this man is. You know, who am I with right now? And so whatever, he kisses me goodbye. He tells me he's going to be out of town and he'll give me a call. And he, in fact, goes out of town for 2 weeks. I go home, I Google him, and I'm like, holy shit. Okay. He is, in fact, an NFL player. He's played for several teams. And I can see, like, you know, whatever. I don't expect to hear from him again. You know, I'm just like, what? That was kind of a cool experience. But he does. He texts me while he's gone. And then when he gets back, he actually calls me. And I've gotten back together by this point with the person that I had been broken up with. And nothing ever came of it. The guy that I was seeing, that I had been with and broken up with, played college football. So when we got back together, I said, no, this was the only date I went on. I went on a date and ended up being an NFL player. I had no idea the whole time that I was on the goddamn date. I thought he did this thing that I'm super interested in, this like kind of art thing that I'm super interested in. That's why I went out with him. He was like, well, who is he? And I said, I'm not going to tell you who it is. And he's like, what position does he play? And I'm like, I don't know. I never asked. I don't like sports. But I could tell you everything about all of his hobbies.
What a fun story. You have the best stories ever. I'm sure he loved the fact you didn't know or really care who he was. It was probably a bit refreshing for him.